IB Nation Sports Talk on a Wednesday. We're off. We're rolling. Glad to have you here today. I'm Sean Stiers. Hey, Vince. How's it going?
It's going well. I can't say that it's a bad day. It's a great day.
Well, that's good. I'm glad to hear that. Glad to hear that. Smile on your face. Things are looking good for you. This is our first show together this week. You've been kind of off a couple days. Jesse's been here with me. We haven't done a show together, talked really since last week. Anything new?
No. And I just also want to say that this was a planned Monday off. Like, that was not an accidental, it was a planned Monday off because I was watching my kid play soccer out in the region, which for those of you that are not from this area is the northwest part of the state. So I wasn't not on the show because of anything that was going on elsewhere.
Okay.
And then, of course, last night was Jesse's night. So here I am.
Right.
Wednesday. Let's go.
I was thinking about you. Made sure to hydrate. Brought in my fluids.
Got my fluids as well.
Staying loose.
I saw
that. Did you see that Golick and Golick Jr. have got they've got like a new podcast web show kind of thing. Saw some of that today. Pretty good.
Do they really?
That? Yeah.
I heard that they were getting back together and they were going to be doing something with like DraftKings or something.
It's like Gojo and Golick or something, I think they call it. Yeah.
I don't know how to find it.
I just saw a little bit of it, like maybe 2+ minutes of it, I think. Earlier.
Very specific amount of time.
It seemed like it. It may have been, I don't know, give or take. It seemed like around 2 minutes or so. I don't know. It might have seemed longer to other people, but not yet for me. It seemed fairly brief anyway. But did you by any chance try to watch complete left turn here? Thinking about you today, and I'll get to you here in a second. Did you try to watch the USC game Saturday night, the USC San Jose State game?
I did, and I could not figure out how to watch it. It was on that Pac-12X or something like that. And
Pac-12 network. Yeah.
I spent about 10 minutes trying to figure out how to find it and how to watch it, and I came up short, and I couldn't find it. I don't know. Is it like affiliated with ESPN or Fox? Or I don't know.
No, and that's part of like this is what got me thinking, is like you made me think of this actually trying to watch this game Saturday night. It was on Pac-12 network. It was nowhere to be found. I mean, You've got week 0. Only 2 ranked teams were playing. Notre Dame, USC. One's in the top 10. The highest ranked team was playing on the Pac-12 network. 2 huge college football brands playing this network. One was on NBC with 3.5 million plus people watching. The other's on Pac-12 network, while New Mexico's on ESPN. And, I don't know if you knew, like a few years back, ESPN and all these different contract negotiations and such tried to take the Pac-12 network off the Pac-12's hands, kind of like they're doing with the SEC and the ACC. Pac-12's like, no, we're good. We can handle this, and I just start thinking, like, if you want to know why the Pac-12 fell apart like this, more people have watched you make crazy faces and skedaddle off screen on the internet in the last couple of days than watch the reigning Heisman Trophy winner and USC Saturday night. Think about that. What does that say about the world we're living in, Vince?
Well, that's the question. What does that say about the world that we live in? Because there are some I realize it's a short attention span sort of a situation, but at the same time, how is that even possible? I mean, technically, more people have watched that than watched the Notre Dame game, which blows my mind as well.
Maybe so. I don't know. I didn't even think about it that way. But
yeah. But no, the USC game was impossible to find.
Pac-12 buried. Like how is the 6th ranked team? I think they're 6th ranked. How is top 10 team anyway, USC, playing on Saturday night when hardly anybody's playing and you can't find them because they're only on Pac-12 network.
How does that work? Like I spent way too much time looking for it. And I finally just got annoyed and I was like, you know what? They don't want me to watch this game. So I'm not going to.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm with you. Well, it is mailbag night. We're going to talk a little Tennessee State, Vince and I, here for a minute first.
Briefly.
Get your mailbag questions in while you got them. This is a tough one, obviously, because it's Tennessee State, first FCS team Notre Dame's ever played, first HBCU team as well Notre Dame's ever played. I mean, basically, here's what everyone knows about Tennessee State. Eddie George, right? Mm-hmm. Like, is there any other attraction for this week other than it's Notre Dame's home opener? That's
the overall fact, I guess, that it's an HBCU. I mean, I know they're going to be doing some different things around campus and, things of that nature, but that's about it. I mean, there's going to be people, there may be more people in the stands wanting to watch halftime than there will be wanting to watch Tennessee State play football because of their band.
Yeah, that's very true. Like, I didn't even think about that until you just said it. I think we kind of hit that over the summer, but you're absolutely right. You got the band, and it's a very unique band. And
yeah, I'm excited for that part, actually.
Are you?
Yeah.
Are you going to video it like for your wife or anything? Is she into that kind of stuff?
She was in the band in high school. So, and I don't know. I'll have to see if she wants me to. You never know. Yeah.
All right. Tennessee State didn't play a Power 5 team last year. They are 1-5 against FBS teams going back to 2006. They have lost their last 4 against FBS teams. Middle Tennessee State the last 2 years. FBS, obviously lower level FBS, but
still,
that is it. It's an interesting roster when you look at it. They've got 25 players on the roster who are either 5th, 6th, or even 7th year eligible. Linebacker James Green is the oldest of the group. He is a 7th year guy. He started his college career in 2017. He's missed 2 seasons due to injuries, including last year. Current college freshmen were in the 6th grade when Green began his college career in 2017.
So Jaden Greathouse, who scored 2 touchdowns on Saturday, was
6th
12.
grade.
Was 12. Yeah. Essentially. The same age as my daughter, because she's going into she's in 6th grade. That's bonkers. That's bonkers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is a very good assessment, USMA 87. Watch TSU highlights from last year. O-line sucks. D-line, I don't know about, I don't know exactly what your entails, but maybe a notch above sucks. I don't know. It is not so good.
Yes, I'll be diving into Tennessee State film this evening to at least speak with some knowledge in the pregame show, about what we're going to be looking at and who we're going to be seeing. Of course, the problem is they haven't played a game yet. And so it's all last year's film, which, it's basically a season opener for them. So it's going to be tough. And obviously the competition is at just a different level than Notre Dame. And And it's why I've always loved the fact, and outside of the fact that it's an HBCU, I'm not going down that road. I'm going down the road of, I was always very happy that Notre Dame never played a 1AA team, an FCS team. Me
too. I felt like that was always the thing they could hang their hat on. When all these other schools are copping out, playing these FCS schools, used to be known as 1AAs and all that, Notre Dame could always hang their hat, no matter what people wanted to say, criticize their independence, join a conference, all this other garbage, talk about their schedule. Notre Dame could always say, we never played an FCS. Now, I guess I get the rationalization for why they're doing it in this particular season because of the Dublin trip. You're essentially scheduling pretty far down, and rather than scheduling a bye after that trip, you are putting yourself, you're setting yourself up for what should be a layup, basically.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, that's what it is. I mean, I would be shocked if it was anything besides that. I mean, I don't want to be, Michigan fans with Appalachian State or anything like that. But look, Tennessee State is not Appalachian State in the year 2000, whatever that was, right? This is it's a completely different scenario.
Yeah. Yeah. At least looking at the record, it's supposed to be a
Right.
different scenario. It better be a
Yeah,
different
I mean,
scenario,
obviously, you
right?
never know, right? I mean, you never know, but I would like to feel that I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And their two best players are basically defensive players. They've got a cornerback, Bryce Phillips, younger brother of a guy who played at Utah, Clark Phillips. He's 6'1", so he's got a little bit of length out there. So could be an interesting matchup defensively, but it is one guy. Monroe Beard, he's an Arkansas Pine Bluff transfer, played in 11 games last year, played in just 5 games the previous 3 years before that. So there's, not a lot there. I'm seeing USMA talking about, they can pressure a little bit, but they give up some runs. You expect them to give up some runs,
Yeah.
especially to a team like Notre Dame with its massive physical lines. I just that is what we saw from Notre Dame's 2 lines last week against
Right.
this team this week is just a horrible matchup for Tennessee State. It's a beautiful matchup for Notre Dame.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to have to send the house. They're going to have to try to get pressure on Sam Hartman, things of that nature. But then that leaves you one-on-one on the outside with Notre Dame's receivers. And, it's a lose-lose situation. I mean, there's a reason they're getting a big check to come in here, obviously, and play whatever that amount of money is. And they're here to take their lumps. They're here to take their lumps, and they're going to. I would like entertaining football, but I think that might be a pie in the sky kind of a situation. So, it is what it is.
Here's your stat. Their quarterback, Draylon Ellis, he threw for over 1,800 yards last year, only 8 touchdowns. 96 carries Draylon Ellis had. 65 rushing yards he had. He was sacked 35 times. He was sacked in all but 2 of the sacks Tennessee State gave up last year. 35 times he was taken down. They only averaged 3.5 yards per carry.
This is like the Carr kid when he went to the Texans. It's like, do they even have an offensive line? I mean, that's a lot of times to get sacked, man, over a 12-game season. That's rough. Oof.
Yeah. Josh says he's curious how they get game film on an FCS team that's probably never been televised. Well, they don't.
No, they've been televised. This is 2023. I mean, there's almost every game is televised in some form or fashion, right? All the way down to NAIA. I mean, that's just the truth of the matter because that's how teams make money, right? And so,
but the teams also have their own video equipment. They're not just going straight off a TV feed,
right? Good call.
Yeah,
and that's what they're trading. Like Notre Dame's not looking at the ESPN copy of Stanford when they play them. You know what I mean? They've
got all 22 films. Yeah, exactly.
They exchange coaches' copies, and just like at the high school level. And apparently the new trend is they not only do they do the press box copy, but they also do the end zone copy when they exchange film. So
that's become a very popular thing. The end zone copy, I've noticed.
From a coach's standpoint, man, I love the end zone view.
Now tell me about that. Tell me why. I've never understood the fascination myself.
Because you can see splits from the offensive line. You can see where the defensive linemen are actually lining up. Are they a 3? Are they a 4-eye? Are they a 1? Are they a 0? It's really hard to tell where a defensive line lines up on an offensive line, right? And then also, how are the linebackers lining up behind the defensive line? So you just get a lot of how they're lining up. You can see steps a lot easier. Like, does this kid take a false step? Does this kid do this? Obviously we're talking more in the box type stuff because you don't really see the wide receivers because you want that tight in the box look.
Sure.
But you can see a lot of stuff. I love it. I love the end zone copy as an offensive coordinator, as like an offensive line type coach. Like I never even looked at the press box film, to be honest with you. It was always the end zone view. Love it.
Siggy 13 says it'll be a big sign to me if Notre Dame wins this game by 45 plus point. Looks sharp doing it. I heard rumors of low energy from fans around this game. I don't think it'll affect the team like Marshall did, or like Marshall Week did. I will be curious to see one what the size of the crowd looks like. 2, how many fans Tennessee State brings. I can't imagine they've got a huge fan base, but at the same time, you would think for an opportunity like this, they would at least sell their ticket allotment that they're going to get out of this. But 3, as we've talked about previously, do more local fans here in this market. Like,
yeah,
it is a home opener, so you've got that. People haven't seen Notre Dame in person unless they flew to Ireland last week. But do we get a lot more local crowd in there this week than typical?
I think so. I think this is a great opportunity because we always complain about the ticket prices and all of those different things. This is the first year that I really remember them trying to sell like packages, right? Like there's I saw a package was like Tennessee State, Central Michigan, and a third opponent. I can't remember who the third opponent was, but it was a not great opponent, right? It's a great opportunity. You can go see 3 games. You can go see this game. There will be, I think, a lot of local people there because the big donors aren't going to be coming to this game. Why would you choose this game over Ohio State or USC, or even Wake Forest on Senior Day, that kind of thing? Like, I believe that's what the Senior Day game is. But like, why would you waste your tennis? Why you're not going to come in here for Tennessee State?
No. Crystal says she was hoping to grab tickets being local, couldn't see paying $300 for the 3 of us, hoping they would drop the prices.
Man,
so I thought that they had tiered, like you were talking about different packages and stuff like that. I thought that they had tiered the ticket prices.
They do. They do. And I don't know.
USMA 87 said he paid $40 on StubHub. So Crystal, maybe head to StubHub, check out some other. You might still be able, Crystal. I would keep my eye out. I would say, especially if you're a tailgater, if you like tailgating, I would go tailgate and wait until pretty close to game time, and I bet you get a ticket for $50 or less out there.
Yeah,
I would wager.
I just pulled up the Fighting Irish website, their athletic website.
Uh-huh.
They are offering a 2-game package. Okay, you can get 4 tickets for Tennessee State and Central Michigan. 4 tickets for $200.
Wow,
for both of those games total. So,
so like 2 tickets to each game, or
no,
4?
I think
four
it's
tickets
4 to each. I think it's 4 to each
for a total of $200.
I'm clicking the.
I don't want any false advertising.
I get it. Okay. It says 4 upper level tickets plus 1 parking permit for $200. So they're $50 a piece.
There you go.
Right.
Do it.
Yeah. That's what it says.
I would jump on it. I mean, that's an opportunity to go to 2 games. That's really 2 games for less than 1 if you just want the Notre Dame football experience.
So there's options there.
A couple games.
There's definitely options there. Yeah. So there you go. There's your chance. Go get after it.
Do it. Hook it up. And that's what it's an opportunity to go see a game if you haven't been to a game in a while. Because I do think I think again, you get out there close to game time, you're going to find some tickets.
Oh, I take it back. That's for one. That's for 1 game. So it's 4.
Here we go.
It's $50 a ticket. It's $50 a ticket is what it is. All right.
You've got my problem. You're like,
sorry.
Yeah. I mean, I do the same thing. I like scan too much. I don't hone and look for deep details. And then I end up asking questions I shouldn't be asking because the information is right there in front of me. Case in point, we were talking about Paul Burmeister jumping over. He's doing the TV. We were talking about that yesterday. Jack Collinsworth is still ill. Paul Burmeister is going to do the NBC TV broadcast, come out of the radio booth. Tony Simeone, who's part of the Notre Dame radio network, men's basketball voice, is going to do the football play-by-play on the radio network.
Yep.
It was in the game notes on Monday. And I didn't even, because that's just like always there. I didn't even really give it much thought. I was looking at some other stuff. I asked somebody a question after I heard yesterday about Burmeister, and it turned out this wasn't like breaking news yesterday. It's been in the game notes since they emailed them to us Monday.
Monday. Yeah.
Yeah. It's been right there in front of our noses the whole time.
And this is what they did last time, I believe, when Collinsworth wasn't there. They just bumped Burmeister over, and then they had Simeone do
Well,
play-by-play
except for
on the
Ireland.
radio, right?
They
Except
didn't
for
do it in
Ireland,
Ireland.
right?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. There's
Yep.
probably too many hurdles with the being overseas and, that whole thing.
Right. Vince, how about some mailbag? What do you say?
Ooh.
Want to answer some questions?
Yes, as long as they're appropriate. Let's go.
All right. I don't want to start any controversies, but Coleman Smith asked some of the first questions. I don't know if he had the absolute first question. I saw he and Salty in here. So here's Coleman. Thoughts on Jordan Botelho possibly outshining Mills this year up front?
I mean, it's definitely possible because I think Botelho has a chance to have better stats because he is an edge player as opposed to Mills, who's an interior player, right? So, I mean, it depends on what your definition of outshining is. Will he have more sacks than Mills? I think there's a good possibility that that's the case. And a lot of times, defensive end plays are a little bit more exciting than interior defensive line plays. So, from a football standpoint, I still think Mills could be very, very good because he was getting double teamed like it was his job in the last game, right?
Well,
and they were not double teaming Botelho. So that's still very important because that means they're not blocking somebody, right?
Let's have this conversation in 2 games. I know maybe that's not fun, but I'll just give my rationale right now because of what you're talking about. It's still option offense against the option. It's not necessarily, I mean, and really you can say it on a lot of plays in general, but especially against the option, it's not a defensive tackle's job to necessarily make a tackle. It's his job to fill a gap, take up space, eat up a blocker or two, and let other guys, funnel plays outside, take away that dive, funnel things outside, and let other guys make plays. That's so Riley Mills was not going to have a monstrous game against Navy just from a pure stat standpoint. Now, against Tennessee State, against Central, virtually against anybody else this season, I think these two are going to complement each other quite a bit. That's going to be the fun part of it to me as this season goes along is I think with the skill of both of these guys, it's going to be sort of a pick your poison type situation for defenses and how they're going to defend them. And I think they're both going to have a lot of havoc plays and opportunities this season.
No, I agree. And you need both. You're going to need both of them. And you're going to need both of them to play at a high level if you want this defensive line and the other components of this defensive line to be as effective as you want them to be. So, yeah, I mean, it doesn't have to be an either or. But, again, depends on how you look at it.
Our friend Jason DeWilkins says he would gladly pay $100 to simply be in the same building as Jason Garrett.
Well,
I think that's sarcasm.
Well,
I think
this definitely is.
Salty says he would gladly pay $200 to be following Jason Garrett down a very long set of stairs.
So there you go.
I mean, I don't know what to say. I got no answer. Got no answer to that.
Man.
All right, so Salty's got a long, complicated question here. Really,
boy.
He's bringing this up today when he should be bringing it up tomorrow. In a root cause failure analysis of Jesse's wide receiver prediction for the great one, of course, that being Jaden Greathouse, which was the primary cause for error? See next post for choices. Here's the next post. A, reliance on prior year data from other receivers, not knowing what the word great means.
I think there's no B.
He skipped B, but he went to C, a concurrent severe case of E. coli.
Wow.
1057:H7 hemorrhagic. Okay. Is that a reference to somebody we might know here?
I don't know.
Like, hey.
I mean, I'm assuming. I'm assuming.
See, again, I didn't read that question closely enough.
See,
I would have scanned that out of there.
You scanned it.
That's right. I scanned it. I just saw the first part of it.
Is he referring to the fact that Jesse is not predicting great things for Jaden Greathouse?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay. All right. Well, look, he had a good game. I mean, he had 3 catches. 2 of them were touchdowns. I mean, that's a pretty darn good freshman debut. There's no doubt about that. And I don't think anybody outside of Salty would have predicted that particular stat line for Jaden Greathouse. And he's going to have another big stat line, I'm sure, because not only is he going to play when the ones are in, but I would imagine he's probably going to play when the twos are in.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he's going to have a heck of a stat line this Saturday.
Man, we've got all kinds of questions flying in
right
now.
Love it.
Nathan asks how we like the fill-in color guys. I think he means the play-by-play guys.
Oh, right.
I love Noah Eagle last week. I've said all along, just the way this is set up, the fact they had Paul Burmeister sitting there and he's got TV experience. He still works for NBC. I would have gone with Paul Burmeister as the NBC new play-by-play announcer all along, starting with last year. And I think Noah Eagle was not perfect, but he had a very much more polished, professional sounding broadcast. And he was thrown in there on relatively short notice with his preparation because of the illness.
I will say that not only was Noah Eagle a pro and sounded like a pro, but he brought Jason Garrett right along with him, and he made Jason Garrett sound better. And that is what we have been saying forever, that you can bring a rookie color guy in, but you got to have a veteran play-by-play guy to bring him along.
Can't have two rookies in there together.
It's exactly what happened, in my opinion.
On national TV.
I thought it sounded good from what I remember.
Me too. Quinn, I thought tackling could be better after Saturday. Is the skill level of your opponent not as important compared to other teams when improving on tackling?
I mean, it was game one, right? I mean, you don't, to be honest with you, teams just don't tackle in fall camp like they used to. And so the first game is going to be a little rough tackling. I thought overall for a first game, especially being in another country, in another time zone, and all of those different things, I thought tackling was fine. Is it going to improve as they move on? Yeah, of course it is. I think you'll see better tackling in this game than we saw in the last game, and I think you'll see improvement moving forward. But for a first game, I didn't really have an issue with the tackling. I don't think those were missed tackles.
Look, it's not like there was a rash of missed tackles and it was just an issue the entire game. Were there a couple missed tackles? Sure there were. Like DJ Brown's got to make that tackle. He made a great read, got there quickly, just a little bit too aggressive. Come to balance, make a tackle. Just make an open field tackle, and it's a tackle for loss rather than a gain for Navy. Like the Jack Kaiser thing. Jesse and I were talking about it yesterday, where he's trying to strip the ball away. It's like what Jesse said. The first guy there, tackle, then you wait for your gang of guys to show up, and then if you're standing him up, that's when you start stripping. But Kaiser went for the strip right away, and it cost him. And there weren't, again, there were some other missed tackles here and there. I'm not overly concerned about it right now. We'll see where that goes.
I'm not concerned about it at all.
I don't think it's going to be an issue, though. I don't think it's going to be an issue. Yeah. Thanks for the super chat. Tyler, he says, the Florida Gators play their first non-conference out of state since September 21st, 1991. Wow. Thoughts? P.S. I was not born yet.
Well, I was, but I was not even in middle school yet. So that's been a while since the Gators opened up not out of the state of Florida. And look, the SEC teams, there's some truth to what these SEC teams do with their scheduling, right? I mean, they don't travel very often for non-conference. And I guess when you're the SEC, you don't have to. So yeah, good for them.
And I mean, different schools, especially like SEC baseball, for example, and all those Southern schools, they very rarely. I realize baseball and football are different, but Syracuse basketball, they've long had a reputation under Jim Boeheim of not leaving the state of New York until non-conference play starts. Like they would play like 15, 16 games at home or at least get someone else in the state of New York before they ever hit the road. So everyone does it. If you can get away with it, you'll do it. And it's money in your pocket if you can set it up that way as well.
I mean, the only thing that's going to prevent them from doing that is money not coming their way or whatever. Like they have to be forced out. And if they can make it work, then so be it. It's just like Notre Dame and being in a conference. They can make it work. They're going to make it work, until they get forced out elsewhere. That's what's going to happen.
Yep. Wicked Broncos, thanks for the super chat. Wants to know if Paul Burmeister is related to Virginia Tech's old quarterback Braxton Burmeister. I do not believe so. I can't say 100%, but I don't believe so.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't believe so either, but I don't know that for sure.
Yeah.
I haven't checked out the Burmeister family tree in a while, so
no.
Yeah.
I haven't either. It's a good day because I'm not BK. Is this all crying here? Is this like, did crying change it? Because that's like the avatar is very similar, it looks like.
True.
But he says, let me know some score predictions for the Utah-Florida game. We're not allowed to give them up right now because they're coming up tomorrow, I believe, on the website, right?
That's right. They'll be here tomorrow. So we already put in our predictions. Now they just have to be published. So you're just going to have to wait and see. Speaking of which, I got to do my predictions for this week.
I just got mine in earlier today.
It said by Thursday, so I'm still good. That's the way I see it.
Very true. Coleman wants to know, what's the other game this weekend you're looking forward to watching and why? I mean,
that's easy.
LSU, Florida State. Slam dunk. Easy.
No
Sunday
doubt.
night.
It's not close either. There's no other game that I really care about, to be honest with you. Will I have other games on? Yep, because it's college football, and if I'm home, I'm going to be watching. But when it's a home game for Notre Dame, I'm pretty busy most of the day. So I will be tuned in on Sunday night, though, but it's at 8 o'clock, and that's what time upon further review starts. So I will be doing that with the iPad off to the side a little bit as well.
Jason says he thinks Utah covers the 4.5. And I'll tell you what, Jason, we make these picks. This is my second year doing them. We do them straight up, win, lose. I would much rather do it with the spread, personally. Yeah. I think it's more fun to do it, much more fun and interesting to do it with the spread. But we do it straight up. So that's the way we have to go.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, it's going to be a fun game either way. I'm looking forward to it very much.
Tyler, thanks again for another super chat. Any questions we still have for this team that did not get answered against Navy?
All of them, to be honest with you. I mean, I still have any question that I had going into the game, to be honest with you. I don't think any of them have been answered, and I don't think any of them are going to truly be answered until game 3 or beyond.
The offensive line performance against Navy's defensive line didn't do anything for you?
Yeah, I mean,
based on what you're saying, none of these questions are going to be answered until after the Ohio State game, right?
Well, that truly, I was thinking NC State when they go on the road.
I see. Yeah, NC State. You're right.
Yeah, I that would be more the one that I have circled, right? I mean, Navy is just a different animal, especially defensively. So, but offensive line, I will give you that. I think it's been answered slightly, right? I think some of my questions about continuity and communication and some things like that, it's been answered for slightly because Navy throws a bunch of crap at you and you have to communicate and you have to do certain things. But they're very undersized. You know, how is this offensive line going to stack up against a Power 5 size defensive line? I think that still remains to be seen, and that's not going to be answered this week, right? I think we got to wait till week 3 to get that kind of an answer made. And then everything else, like I will steal a page from Marcus Freeman's press conference, right? He was super happy with the communication from the offensive sideline and, coordinator to quarterback coach to, all those different things. I thought that went very smooth. And I think that is a question that was answered because there's a lot of new moving parts and things like that. So I think that part was really good. But come on, man. Sam Hartman should be able to pick apart Navy. He should be able to pick apart Tennessee State. Like those aren't, if anybody didn't think that was going to happen and that was a question mark for you, then you know what I mean? Like, yeah.
You're right. He should, like Jared Parker confirmed last night at the post-practice media session that the 3rd and 12, the throw to Audric Estime that gained 22 yards, that was a check at the line of scrimmage by Hartman. He checked from one play to another. There's a veteran quarterback making a check at the line of scrimmage. That, again, now, would Drew Pine and or Tyler Buckner have been able to make that check this year? We know that Drew Pine couldn't make it last year. How much difference would that experience have made? We don't know, but we know that having a 6th-year guy and they're like nearly everything went right. Yeah, I think the bigger question for me is just how they're going to deal with their first adversity, and that might
Right.
not be answered for a while. But that's
Yeah.
that's the biggest question that I have is how they're going to deal with some adversity, really, because really everything went about as perfect as could go last week. Now there was some minor adversity on the defensive side. Again, like for the Al Golden doesn't know what he's doing crowd, it wasn't a good day because Navy threw looks at Al Golden and that defense right off the bat that had never shown up on film, either at Navy or at Kennesaw State, where their offensive coordinator had been for 8 years. And so, like, you had guys doubling up in gaps and doing some different stuff. And Navy gained 31 yards on their first 3 plays, and that ended up being, I think, almost 25% of their total offense for the entire day because Al Golden and the crew made the adjustment on the fly. So, like in that micro case, it was a very good case of dealing with adversity. But bigger picture, I think that's the biggest thing that I'll probably need to see from this team, how they deal with that.
Yep, I think that's a really good call because they didn't really deal with a whole lot in that game. I mean, the biggest adversity that they had to overcome was getting on a plane and going over there and dealing with the time change. Like that was the biggest adversity that this team had to face, in this game. And they handled that one no problem. But how about some in-game adversity, please?
Right. So Wicked Bronco was like worried that we weren't going to get his $10 super chat question in. Come on, Bronco, you paid a super chat. We are bound to get these.
Bring it up.
We're not going to skip you. We're just
not going to bring up that first part, but second part says, anyways, I hope we actually get to see Angeli and Minchie throw and run the offense for an entire half. No handoffs, please. Well, there's going to be handoffs. That's part of an offense. Like RPO is a run pass option, and that's this offense. They're going to do those things. But I agree with you, Wicked Bronco, that I want to see them actually run the offense. I don't want them to just go in and hand off. I agree with that whole sentiment. As long as the handoffs are part of the offense, then I'm good with it. Throw, pass, whatever the defense gives you, kind of a situation.
I'm not holding my breath to see Kenny Minchie this Saturday, though. I hope fans aren't either, because
right, I agree.
Even
with that too.
If it's Angeli's going to get most of the reps, if and when
and
he
comes,
should. Which, he's the number 2 quarterback. He's going to get the reps. They're not just going to start running every quarterback out there because they've got a big lead, and they're not going to keep throwing against Tennessee State assuming they've got a big lead. They're not. It's still Notre Dame, and it's still Marcus Freeman and everything else that comes with it. So, like, you got to see Angeli throw a short pass the other day.
Yeah.
He finally got to attempt a pass. I don't think they're going to be necessarily chucking it downfield. Again, I would be shocked unless it's like 75-0 and Angeli plays 80% of the fourth quarter, and then Minchie comes in and gets a mop-up series at the end, and that will be all
handoffs. Yes, yeah. Correct. And it's the other thing you have to, do you see? He's the third string quarterback, right? So do you see him getting in 4 games? Do they probably want to preserve his red shirt? All of those different kinds of things. I don't see him getting in 4 total games anywhere. So, I mean, if you have an opportunity, sure, slide him in. But it's going to have to get out of control for that to be the case.
Yes. Jason DeWilkins, while it was painful to sit in the stands and watch his cavemen shoot themselves in the foot get rolled last Friday, congrats to your son and the Kingsmen on the win.
All right. You know what? Sean and I did Mishawaka games for a long time, man. And I love that community. And we had a great time doing basketball and football.
Yep.
And so I have nothing but love for the Mishawaka community. I will tell you that Friday night was an unbelievable atmosphere. It was so much fun. I'm just glad my kid got to experience it. I remember when they decided to go to the NLC, and I remember leaning over to Sean. I'd be like, when they re-up this rivalry, I go, my kid's going to be a junior in high school. And he was in middle school at the time, right? And I was like, that seems so far away. And now it's in the past. Like, time goes by so quickly.
I kept trying to get Vince to send his kid to Mishawaka as inducement so we could keep calling games together. And now, of course, he's at Penn, Dylan's at Penn, and we're not doing games anymore. So it doesn't matter now anyway.
So. No, it doesn't. But it was a great atmosphere, man, and I'm glad you had a good time. Yes, it was rough if you're a Caveman fan. There was a lot of mistakes on both sides of the ball, that's for sure. And we all know that when Mishawaka gets down, they're not exactly built to come back, and so they were throwing the ball around, and there was a couple picks, and got ugly there at the end. But it was a great game.
Coffees for closers. Heading to South Bend Friday, bringing my thanks for the super chat, by the way, Coffee. Heading to South Bend Friday, bringing my 92-year-old mom,
Wow.
Tennessee State 1950, dad, Tennessee State 1949, and Notre Dame 1952. Riley High School greatest principal. Awesome.
Wow.
Welcome back.
Fantastic, man. That is fantastic. What is I assume you're saying that your dad was the Riley principal at one point or another. Put his name in there. I used to teach at Riley, man. I would love to know who that was, man. That's awesome that you're coming into town, and that's fantastic, man. I hope they're going to be all decked out in Tennessee State stuff, man. Enjoy that game.
Absolutely. Sorry. Troll Hunter, after week 1 going into week 2, which bold prediction are you most confident in?
Wow, that would mean I would have to remember my bold predictions.
I know. I'm trying to remember any of my predictions right now.
I know I said that Jalen Sneed was going to lead the team in sacks, and obviously that didn't get off to a great start, but it was Navy, so there wasn't a whole lot of sacks to be had. Josh Burnham's on fire, though, obviously, in the sack department.
Yeah.
Trying to remember what my my bold prediction. I think I said Sam Hartman to win the Heisman. Yeah, his odds went down as far as like the plus whatever. Like he's now 6th in Heisman voting, or like according to Vegas. So I feel pretty good about that one.
Man, I'm trying to remember mine. I think my biggest one is I still think Jaden Thomas is going to end up being the leading receiver for this team.
Agreed.
So,
yeah.
It's a good distribution. Agreed. I think when it all shakes out, it's going to be Jaden Thomas reeling him in the most.
Agreed. Algie Oldham is the guy we're talking about. The gymnasium is named after Algie. So, yes, he probably goes down as the greatest principal ever at Riley High School. That's fantastic.
All right.
And I just got a text from one of my buddies who I used to teach with at Riley. He's still there. He's a swim coach, and he's a best swim coach in the area. It's not close. And he said he confirms the gym is named after him. He says he was his principal when he was a student, and he was the greatest principal ever. So there you go.
All right. Good deal.
Oh,
good deal.
Thanks, John.
Welcome back. Yeah, absolutely. Wicked Bronco, thanks for another super chat. Okay, so he said, week 0 upset alert. Well, week 0 was last week. so
if you're up,
we're on to week 1.
I mean,
Miami, Ohio proves they're the real Miami. Utah State over Iowa. Indiana could beat Ohio State with the quarterback issues, and Indiana always plays them tough. North Texas over Cal. Duke over Clemson. Thoughts? Wow. I don't agree with most of it. Maybe Indiana could give Ohio State a game right away. I'm not on the Duke bandwagon. I've said before, Mike Elko did some nice things last year. It was almost all on the defense, and it was almost all related to turnover margin, the turnovers they created. Doing that at an extreme high level 2 years in a row, I think, is going to be tough. I think Clemson is going to be better offensively this year, bringing in Garrett Riley. So I don't like Duke over Clemson. I definitely don't like Utah State over Iowa, regardless of Iowa's, offensive struggles. There is bonus money on the line this year if Iowa can score some points for Kirk Ferentz's son. So,
okay.
I don't know.
I didn't know that.
What do you think?
That's the one I disagree with the most, is the Utah State over Iowa. Is Miami of Ohio playing Miami? Is it Miami versus Miami?
Like, I
didn't even know that was actually a thing. There's no way IU beats Ohio State. It won't even be a game, I don't believe. Cal isn't a very good team, but I just don't see North Texas doing anything there.
Yeah,
And then,
maybe.
yeah, I mean,
I
it's possible. Of all the things, maybe that one is the most possible, I guess I would say. But other than that, yeah, those are some upset, man. That's an upset alert style. There's zero chance Duke beats Clemson. If Duke beats Clemson, then Clemson is not the team that we thought that they were by any stretch of the imagination. And I'm not trying to dog on Duke, but Duke and Clemson are at a very different place right now. We can love on Duke and say that they're doing all the right things right now at 9-3 and all. It's fantastic. It's great.
They also didn't play Clemson last year.
And now they will. Welcome back to the ACC. I just don't see that happening. I don't see it.
Yeah. Quinn wants to know who throws a touchdown first, Angeli or Minchie?
I'm going to go with Angeli because I don't think Minchie even plays.
I completely agree. And I mean, even if we're talking the season, I think it's going to be Angeli before Minchie because he's the number 2 quarterback. But it's going to be like, this is going to be the year that the number 3 quarterback is the most popular guy on the roster.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yep, you nailed that one.
It's a good day because I'm not BK. Wants to know who do we think will be the sack leader Saturday? I'll just say Jordan Botelho.
Nice. I'm still sticking with Jalen Snead. I got to go with my bold prediction that he is able to make up some ground here because I think he's going to get a lot of playing time in this game, right? He rotates with the ones, and then once the 2s come in, it's going to be the Jalen Snead show. Okay. Mark my words, Sean Stiers. It's coming.
Now, this one, I think Coleman might be confused because he wants to know your favorite memory when attending Notre Dame. Now, are you talking about attending Notre Dame games or going to school? Because Vince, not a Notre Dame alum.
I wish I was, but I'm not. I did not go to Notre Dame. If we're asking just like covering the team, it would have oh man. It's not a great memory, but the one that sticks out, my favorite memory, honestly, is the Notre Dame USC game in 2005. That was standing right next to you on the field, just going from straight elation, just absolute elation to devastation in a matter of 37 seconds. It was, that's something I'll never forget. I'll never forget that feeling. Yeah. Never.
Watching that ball on that far sideline shoot up up in the air, and it's like, it's over, and no, it's not.
No, it's not.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Crazy. Very crazy. That's definitely still the most memorable, I think. And Manti and beating Michigan in that game, and the goal line stand even against Stanford in 2012 as well. Some of those games, even the Samardzija. Remember the Quinn to Samardzija UCLA game? We were standing in the same spot we were for the USC game, right down there on that same side of the sideline in the end zone.
Yep, I always made it a point to go down there because I never knew when that was going to be my last game. So I always made a point to go down. The Stanford goal line stand, I was not at. That was one of the games where you brought somebody else, which is your prerogative. You were the boss. I watched that game at McDonald's. So I remember that very well.
I used to love the smell of the crunched grass by the end of the game when we would go down there. And now you smell nothing when you go down there on the field.
Rubber. You smell rubber.
Yeah, I guess.
Like you're at a NASCAR race.
That's true. Very true. Quinn says, further this week, even though Tennessee State isn't great, does that matter as much for improving on tackling? Either you bring your guy down or I was going to say, we talked about tackling before, but I think,
you could, there's definitely stuff you can work on. There's no doubt about it. And tackling would be one of those things. And absolutely. There's going to be opportunities for open field tackles, and there's going to be opportunities for them to raise their game. There's no doubt. And so, you can absolutely work on those things. The fundamental stuff, that's the stuff you work on.
Vince, are you ready for some rapid fire?
I'm always ready for rapid fire.
I have saved a couple of these other questions. I think that they are good rapid fire fodder. So let's start with Antoine. Here's a question. Will Meriwether continue starting over Colsey, especially if Colsey plays like he did versus Navy?
Yep, he still will. Number one, because I don't think that Meriwether is going to continue to drop every pass that comes his way. I think he's actually going to play very well in this game coming up on Saturday. And look, when you put the two kids side by side, Merriweather has more upside than Colsey does, no matter what happens. And Merriweather will always be the better practice player than Colsey. And coaches are going to go with the guy who is the better practice player. They just are. And that doesn't mean that Colsey's not going to get snaps, because he obviously is. And he made the most of his 7 snaps in this last game. But Merriweather brings a lot more to the table than just catching footballs, too. He's a one heck of a blocker. He did a really good job, actually, this past Saturday blocking. So, yeah, I don't see that being the case.
I don't either. It's one game, so I'm not going to base everything on one game. We've talked about it a little bit this week. I think it's going to all work out in the balance. I think that Merriweather is going to get his. Deion Colsey will still have opportunities. Where Colsey is right now is interesting because, as you were just alluding to, in my I don't know if it was your internet or my internet that chopped a little bit. So I didn't hear everything that you were saying there, but I heard parts of what you were saying. Merriweather is definitely the better practice player between the two. And that's why he found himself on the field so much. I think it was like 35 snaps to 7 snaps or something like that. It was obvious. Now, could there be a little bit more balance? Maybe.
Sure.
But at the same time, Tobias Merriweather is a playmaker waiting to make plays.
Yep.
Now, did he have a drop? Yeah, he had a drop. Was there another ball that maybe he could have worked a little harder for, 50-50 in the end zone? Sure. But was it underthrown a little bit also? Sure. But was it also pass interference? Of course it was. And then they picked up the flag afterwards. Right. So, like, what can there's nothing you can put on that. And as Jesse and I talked about on yesterday's show, there was when Jeremiah Love missed blitz pickup in the backfield, and there's pressure coming down on Sam Hartman. Hartman ends up throwing a corner route to Colsey on the right sideline. If he had a little bit more time, if the blitz had been picked up the way he should, it's probably a touchdown on a deep post to Tobias Merriweather. So it's, again, it's like it's not all on Tobias Merriweather just because he didn't end up with any catches. In one specific case, he obviously had to make that catch. It's an easy catch. You just got to do the simple things. But I'm not going to just disregard Tobias Merriweather and start, and the coaches I don't think are going to either. They're not going to start drastically altering snaps. They know what Tobias Merriweather is capable of, and you're still going to see a lot of Tobias out there. And I think we're going to see more balls coming his way this weekend and beyond.
Yeah, and everybody else is going to see what Tobias Merriweather brings to the table too. Like that, I'm sorry, I just feel like the Navy game was a one-off. 2 targets. You went through it. I'm not going to rehash it. He only had 2 targets. Yep, he dropped one, and one was underthrown. End of discussion. Like, he's going to be just fine. I still think he leads the team in yards when it's all said and done.
I do too. But maybe there's a little more doubt just because what the other guys did. But again,
that's fair.
We can't overreact to one game. I think that I think Sam Hartman is a smart enough quarterback. Just what we talked about right there. He's a smart enough quarterback. He knows when he's got to get rid of the ball.
Yep.
And he's not just going to lock in on one guy for the sake of trying to get him the football. He's going to throw to the open guy. Sometimes that's going to be Tobias. Sometimes it's going to be Jaden Thomas. Sometimes it'll be Greathouse. Sometimes it'll be Tyree and all over the field. That's the best part of the whole thing is you shouldn't want one guy to be getting the majority of the balls coming his way because it's better for the team.
Absolutely. I mean, there's a reason that 9 different guys caught balls.
Exactly. Speaking of Sam Hartman, do you buy or sell him as Notre Dame's best quarterback since Joe Montana? This is a topic I heard addressed on a national show this week.
Wow. Well, at least they're talking about Notre Dame, so I'll give them credit for that. And in a positive way, if they're saying that he's the best quarterback since Joe Montana, for goodness sake, I'm going to say no, because I think Brady Quinn was still a very good quarterback. And I think, his numbers obviously speak to that. So is he the best since Joe Montana? No, I think Brady Quinn deserves some love in there. And I'm sure that people would say Jimmy Clausen, although Jimmy Clausen didn't have the wins to go along with it or the team around him to really be all that successful. But the short answer for me is Brady Quinn.
Brady Quinn inhabits the record books. Jimmy Clausen is sprinkled in there as well. Obviously, it's a different era that we're dealing with now than the last 5 or so years since Joe Montana was here. But I think a guy who gets maybe overlooked a little bit, Steve Berline was a good quarterback.
Good call.
Won a playoff game in the NFL, was not a
career.
regular starter forever, but he had his opportunity with some starts. Steve Berline was a very good quarterback. Rick Meyer was the number 2 overall pick in his draft behind Drew Bledsoe.
Call.
So, I mean, there's some guys in there. Tony Rice won a national championship, obviously a different kind of quarterback, but we're talking one game,
right?
Large body of work with these other guys. So it's like, I think we all think Sam Hartman's going to have a really good year in his 1 year at Notre Dame. I'm not willing, based on one game against Navy, to say Sam Hartman is their best quarterback in 45 years since the guy who won 4 Super Bowls. So I'm going to have to sell this one as well.
Yeah, it's a big sell. And I mean, we're also talking about Tony Rice. I mean, he's a different kind of quarterback, but he was pretty stinking effective in the offense that he ran. They won a national championship. So I think he has to get some love here too, right? I mean, he wasn't your prototypical in the pocket passer, obviously, but he's still pretty good quarterback.
Yeah, exactly. There have been a lot of good quarterbacks over the years. We haven't seen them in more recent years. Bingo. And I think that's a big part of why everything is sort of so accentuated with Sam Hartman right now, because of the elite level of quarterback play that we saw.
You know what's funny, and I don't know if Brian brought this up on any of the shows, throughout the week, because I can't listen to him all the time. But do you remember what Jack Cohn's stat line was in his first game as a Notre Dame quarterback?
It's pretty good, wasn't it? Like maybe a couple, like 2 or 3 incompletions or something like that.
Let's see. Yeah, it was really, really good. And I'm going to try to find the box score here. Of course, there's, it's no fun. Okay, here we go. All right. He was 26 of 35 for 366 yards.
Yeah, the Florida State game. That's right. Forgot about that.
4 touchdowns and 1 interception. So his stats were pretty stinking good. And if I'm not mistaken, that was on the road too, against a much better opponent than Navy, because they went to overtime.
With a worse offensive line and running game
correct.
Than what Sam Hartman also has right now.
Yes. Now, Sam Hartman, 5 drives, 5 touchdowns, all those different things. He was very efficient. I get it. But, let's pump the brakes. Let's pump the brakes. I'm as big a Sam Hartman fan as there is, but let's pump the brakes.
Yes. Concur. Fill in the blank. It's blank that when Jack Kaiser spoke with the media after yesterday's practice, he said Notre Dame starters sat in first class for their flights to and from Dublin. Marcus Freeman sat in economy on the way home, while Sam Hartman gave up his first class seat, also sat in economy, so that Holden Stays could sit in first class on the way home.
I think it's great. I think it's great. Look, if you're a starter, you deserve special treatment. It is, I can't remember who said it. It's Jimmy Johnson, right? He's like, I treat everyone fairly, but not the same. And he came up with some name of a player that he had. He's like, if so-and-so falls asleep in a meeting, I'm going to cut him. If Emmitt Smith falls asleep in a meeting, I'm going to gently wake him up and ask him to pay attention. It's okay to treat your starters better than everybody else. And I have no problem with it.
Yeah, and I'm not, I guess my question, maybe I should have worded it a little bit different. I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about the fact that Marcus Freeman and Sam Hartman basically both gave up their seats in the good area so that other guys could sit up there. And these are apparently they were those pods, where you can lounge back. And so they could sprawl out and do all this kind of stuff. So to me, it's just leaders leading, and there's a reason people gravitate to Marcus Freeman, and there's a reason Sam Hartman's the captain and people gravitate to him. You're the captain on an 8-hour flight home and you're giving up your seat in first class to one of the tight ends. Yeah. I think people are going to respond pretty favorably to that over the course of the season.
And you think they might block a little longer or what? I mean,
right.
It's not going to hurt you. It's not going to hurt you. And I think Sam Hartman had a lot of clean pockets on Saturday, and I think he appreciated those clean pockets. And Holden Stays was a big reason why that was the case. And so I love it. I absolutely love it.
Get a little bit of a cramp. Sorry. So
make sure you hydrate, Sean.
I will. I'll try. Vince, there's this NIL initiative run by NBC that I saw on Twitter over the weekend. Had you heard about this before I sent you this today?
I had not.
I had never heard about it. They tweeted it out. It's NBC Sports, and specifically this guy an executive, Damon Phillips, who works for NBC Sports, started this NIL initiative that money can go to Notre Dame. There's 3 schools that are part of this. So there's kind of a lot of details, but I want to go through this and then we'll talk about it. So it's called NBC Sports Athlete Direct. They've got a website, NBC Sports Athlete Direct. You can just Google that and you'll find your way there. The website says it's an NIL community that connects student athletes, advertisers, and fans. They launched NBC Sports Athlete Direct to help student athletes monetize their name, image, and likeness, NIL. Founded by Damon Phillips, he runs the program, works for NBC Sports. They launched 3 pilot programs over a year ago. Notre Dame, Vanderbilt, Temple were the 3 schools. So it's an athlete direct fan club where the college, student athletes, and teams partner with NBC Sports Athlete Direct to launch these fan clubs. You buy a membership for $29.99 into this. Like if you want it to be Notre Dame, you buy a membership in the Notre Dame fan club, and it provides what they say is unprecedented access to your favorite athletes and teams, including members-only podcast, exclusive content from NBC Sports talent that cover your team, opportunity for virtual meet and greet with the athletes or team as well. And again, it costs $29.99 to join the fan club. So like if you're a Notre Dame fan, you go to this website, you can buy a Notre Dame membership for $30, and it lasts the duration of your team's season. So like for Notre Dame, it would go presumably until whatever bowl game, whenever their season is over. You do have to live in the United States and be at least 18 to do it. But the result of this is the student athletes receive a share of the revenue that is generated by their fan clubs, and they're able to engage directly with their fans, build their personal brands, and gain, as they say, invaluable entrepreneurial experience. What do you think of this whole thing, Vince? Again, I had never heard of this until I saw a tweet from these guys over the weekend.
I will tell you that I think that the idea is fantastic. I think some of the execution is a little interesting. There's actually a link that if you're a student athlete, you click the link to sign up to be part of this collective, as I was looking through, which I thought was interesting. So I'm wondering how directly, pushed to the athletes that this is. And basically, if you're an athlete, you sign up, you're in the pool. And if an advertiser wants to be a part of it, then they kind of match you up and they get you money, which I think it's a great idea. I think it's what NIL is supposed to be honest with you. It's a very similar situation what NIL is supposed to be.
If I'm being honest, I'm a little surprised that you don't see any ads or promos during a Notre Dame football game for this thing. It's run by NBC Sports, and it's obviously this is, again, it's like you've seen Under Armour with the partnership with Sam Hartman out there, with what Sam Hartman did a couple of weeks ago on social media. And now you're seeing NBC Sports, 2 of the biggest partners that Notre Dame has, going direct where fans can go buy this fan club membership, and you are putting money into this pool that's going to help out Notre Dame football players. And it's not just the football team, it's other teams as well. Like if you want it to be men's basketball or women's basketball or baseball or whatever it happens to be, it helps all these different sports. So I think it's really cool. And again, I had never heard of it. It's more than a year old at this point. And it is off and running. So it sounds fairly unique. I don't know.
Yeah, it's very unique. I would be curious to see what has come of it. You know what I mean? Because obviously they haven't publicized it very well before.
Well, that's what I was
now.
going to say. I don't know what could come of it, considering we've never even heard of it before this.
You think we would have at
weekend.
least heard that it existed?
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
So very interesting. So again, like we've got a viewership and listenership full of Notre Dame fans. It's $30 to join this thing. It's basically pennies. So if you're talking about, well, Notre Dame isn't in on NIL and they're not using NIL, I mean, it's an opportunity as a fan to help Notre Dame from the NIL perspective.
Yeah.
And again, it's called NBC Sports Athlete Direct. So you can go there. They've got a website. They've got links where you can join and just do the whole thing. Pretty cool.
Father David's upset. Canada was left out again.
I know.
And Father David, listen, man, number one, if you're a student athlete who's under 18, you can't benefit from this. And if you're a student athlete who is not originally from the United States, you can't benefit from this, which I found very interesting. So you're not the only one, Father David. If there's any Canadians on the Notre Dame roster in any sport, they cannot participate.
Apparently not.
So at least find some solace, Father David.
Too bad, eh?
Hey.
So there's a bar in Green Bay, Wisconsin that's going to pick up the tab for some New York Jets games this season. If you get to the bar 15 minutes before the game starts, open a tab, and then stay for the entire game that Aaron Rodgers starts for the Jets, they're going to pick up the tab for you after the game if the Jets lose. So who's going to come out on top in all this, Vince?
Man, you're taking a gamble. I mean, this is a true gamble if you're the owner of this bar. I mean, now I think a lot of NFL prognosticators think that the Jets are going to be over 500. So I don't know that I'm one of them, but I'm not a professional NFL prognosticator. So I guess if you're a bar owner, you've done the math in your head and you figure, well, they're going to win more games than they're going to lose. You better hope, and I should pull up the Jets schedule, but you better hope that the night that the Jets play some like really, really good team, that you don't just get absolutely hosed.
That's
like,
right.
You better hope that people come in, like let's say the Jets are playing the Chiefs, for example, and everybody thinks that the Chiefs are going to win. So they just go in and they run up a huge tab. You just better hope the Jets, come back and win that game, man, because you're going to make all kinds of money or you're going to be out all kinds of money.
I mean, you said the key word gamble. It's basically like a sports book. You know, it's exactly what it is. He's taking all the bets, and then if he loses, he's got to pay the bet back. But if he wins, he's keeping everything. And so people are staying there, buying food, drinking their booze, doing the whole thing. I think that over the long haul, one, there's such a markup on alcohol to begin with. And so over the long haul, one, not everyone's going to show up in time and meet all the requirements. Some people are going to, take off early. Other people are just going to sit around and get snockered waiting and hoping that Aaron Rodgers loses. So, and then, like how many games are going to come right down to the end? That's what I want to know. Like it's going to be decided by a field goal or something. And then how many is the house going to win on this whole thing? I think that just by drawing these people in, I think that in the long haul, the bar is going to come out in front on this whole thing. I think it's going to be good for him. I think it's going to be good for business, and they'll just, have a lot of people sitting in there rooting against Aaron Rodgers and the Jets, and it'll probably be a pretty good time for everybody.
Yeah, no doubt. You're right. I think in the long run, they're probably going to make out, but there's going to be a couple nights where there's going to be a couple nights where they're not going to break even, man, and that's going to suck for them.
By the way, I really did have a cramp. I wasn't just saying that a little bit ago. I had a cramp here in my side.
But you handled it very well. Much better than I did.
So AMC Theaters is partnering with ESPN to show 75 ACC football games and the New Year's Six Bowl games this season. Would you go watch a college football game in a movie theater?
100%. I think it's a fantastic idea. I do.
You just like the popcorn. That's why
I love my popcorn. I would get popcorn. The only thing that I would need is Wi-Fi so that I could still, work Like if there was an away game for Notre Dame football, I would consider going to the movie theater to watch it. You got the big old surround sound and the big screen. I think it would be a blast.
That actually might be enjoyable, like watching them up, like when you talk about it that way. I guess it would depend. Like, am I working or am I a fan though? And the other thing is, like we were just talking about the whole bar scene, you know, with they're in Green Bay. It's a movie theater, so there's pop and there's popcorn and all that stuff. I guess some theaters are serving beer these days. I don't know that AMC will be serving beer. You know, like how big? Not that that's like a huge deal for me anymore, but still, they tried this with NFL games a few years back, and it didn't seem like it was a huge success. I don't think they do it anymore, but they're still out there trying, plugging away. I mean, everyone knows the ACC needs some publicity.
There's no doubt, and like I said, the AMC theater that is at Disney Springs, for example, it's like the free area where you can walk around and they got shops and stores and stuff. They have an AMC theater in there and they have like table service. Like you go to the movies and they have table service. You can get
now we did one of those. Yeah, we went when we went to Dallas a few years back.
Okay.
It was it was a theater like that, but it was table service and alcohol. Like I think they even had dinner, you know, like the whole thing.
The whole thing.
Whatever you want.
It'd be weird to do that. I feel like a dinner atmosphere promotes conversation.
Right.
And I don't want people conversing while I'm watching the movie. I wouldn't mind having food like that, but I don't know that, you know what I mean? Like, I wonder how that actually, we didn't obviously do it, but I wonder how that would all go.
Final question, potentially from ND Cheat Sheet. If all things go to plan against Tennessee State, who are some young guys on defense we're excited to see get some playing time?
Oh, let's see here. Donovan Heinisch on the defensive line. I think he would be fun to see.
Now, he could be part of the two deep anyway because of Gabe Rubio being out. Yeah.
You're right. You're absolutely right.
Drake Bowen, potentially.
Yeah. Let me pull up here the roster, and I'm going to go put the freshman at the top. Okay. So, and he said defense specifically. I would like to see some more of Christian Gray. I think that would be, he got some playing time obviously on Saturday, but he could be out there for an entire half. At this point, I think Adon Schuler, Ben Minnick, I think would be two fun guys at safety to see. Maybe Drake Bowen.
So you're basically just going to mention every defensive freshman and throw them out.
Yeah, because they're all exciting to see. Because we're not going to see them really.
Yeah, I mean, this is the opportunity. If the starters take care of business the way they're supposed to, this is an opportunity to be one of the 4 games that some of these guys get to play in this year, because there's potential for really extensive playing time if things, as the question went, go the way that they're supposed to go. Extensive playing time opportunities, and that's part of what you want out of a game like this.
And I honestly wonder how Notre Dame is going to handle this, if I'm being honest. Like, if they're up 50, okay, and you're the second half of the fourth quarter, I wouldn't be overly surprised to see some walk-ons get some playing time as opposed to freshmen, because I feel like they're going to try to preserve some of these higher-level freshman guys, like guys I just named. They're going to try to preserve some of those redshirt opportunities, and why would you waste it in garbage time against Tennessee State when you could put them on special teams and maybe actually
that's true too,
make an impact in a game
by the end of the season. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see how the coaching staff does it.
Yeah. Antoine says he wants to see Bowen, Snead, and Osbury in at the same time. That could be pretty fun.
Yeah.
Wouldn't mind seeing that at all. I like Tristan, what we were just talking about. He says, I can't watch games with family. Total strangers, hard pass.
I'd rather watch games with total strangers because I'd yell at them and there's no repercussions. So
total strangers can be easier to watch a game around than like people who maybe wear headphones during the game and like get annoyed by little ticks on your keyboard and those kind of things. You know anybody like that?
I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't know. I'm just like spitballing, just shooting out
throwing
loud
some
here.
stuff out there.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. There's some certain family members that I can't stand watching games with. So I would much rather watch it with strangers.
Yeah, my dad is like one of these guys watching a game who likes to talk out loud at everything the announcers say, and like question what they're saying, and
right.
And like, what do these guys know? They never played the game, that kind of stuff. And then I've got the other side of the family who really doesn't care that much about football, even though, of course, they claim to be Chiefs fans because they've won a couple Super Bowls here recently. But they really, it's just like trying to watch, especially when I'm working, trying to watch, around the holidays when I have to be around them. That's a lot of fun. So I would agree with the family comment. It's like just let me watch the football. Like Jesse and I, we can watch a football game together. Like sometimes he dials it up a little bit, and I have to kind of remind him, dial it down. But then, I used to be like that myself at some point.
So you get it.
Yes,
you get it.
Yes, exactly right. Exactly right. All right, Vince. Well, that's going to do it for tonight. Great questions in the mailbag, as always. And we've got another show coming up tomorrow. Jesse's got some whiteboard. He's going to bring that in. We're going to do some whiteboard for the weekend. And, of course, some rapid fire and some other Notre Dame topics. Marcus Freeman scheduled for a Zoom call with the media Thursday at noon. So we'll potentially have some comments from Marcus Freeman, depending on what he talks about tomorrow at noon as well. So that's coming up on tomorrow's show. Thanks again. Hit the like button before you leave. Subscribe, rate, and review. And we'll talk to you tomorrow on IB Nation Sports Talk.